Today is February 28th, 2006, the last day of Black History Month. Good evening, I'm Eric Hackley, and this is Hackonomics. Today we're going to discuss the relevance of Black History Month and where do we go from here. Today I'll be joined by two of Fort Wayne's most distinguished pastors, Reverend James Kizer, pastor at Mount Olive Baptist Church, and Reverend E.J. Lacy, pastor of Mount Hermon Baptist Church in Peru, Indiana. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
You know, I think this is the first time I've ever had two pastors on my show, and I'm glad that you guys have had a chance to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes it even better, you're both from Mississippi.
That's right.
And, you know, through talking with you over the years, you both had a chance to share with me different stories, you know, from the South that have happened. And, you know, one of the things I've noticed here in Fort Wayne is when we have our Black History Month programs, you know, we always go back to, you know, the year one and talk about the leaders and heroes, and that's a good thing. But we never talk about the people who were born in the South, grew up in the South, and saw things that us Northerners never had a chance to see. Mm-hmm. You know, Reverend Kizer, you know, is there anything that you can share with us about stories that your dad shared with you or your mom about Mississippi that helped shape you in some way?
Well, when you talk about some of the stories that my mother and my father shared with me about the South, usually there were stories about how they were raised and how they were brought up in the South. And I think that it gave them a strong sense of knowing that if we're going to be successful, we have to have a mindset that would take us from the struggle, because I believe when you start talking about the South, you think about the struggle, and the struggle of trying to make it in an area or a time frame of life when I guess racism and things of this nature was really alive and well and kicking in their day. Even today, it's just changed, but yet I think it was really hard on the those who were coming up in the early 50s, 40s, 30s, things of that nature. And then when we think of those things, it helps us to have a more drive today to be successful as Black people.
But you know, as they were coming here in those days, we don't ever have a chance to really salute their patience, their ability to withstand all the kind of pressures that the blacks of later years might get beaten to death because you're going to retaliate and you didn't take as much crap as they had to take. Reverend Lacy.
Yes.
I found out that you had a particular unique experience from the South just because you were friendly with some white ladies. Is that accurate?
Yeah, well, after we first integrated, that was kind of rough. It really was.
Now, what year is this? What year are we talking about?
Oh, man, I forget. I had my accident in 77, so we must have integrated somewhere around the latter 60s, maybe 67, somewhere like that.
Okay, now how did that have an impact on you? Because in the 70s, I mean, that's not too long ago.
Right. And it had an impact on me because we were used to seeing everybody look like me, you know, running around, you know, from the first grade on through 7th grade, and then from the high school. Matter of fact, it was Goshen Fannin. Right, all black schools. Goshen Fannin was the elementary school, and Carter High. And when we integrated, many of us didn't learn anything the first couple of years because we was always fighting. They walked down the hall and said, "Go back to Africa, nigga." You know, then the fight is on, and then we get expelled.
I'm curious.
So that was kind of rough.
When that kind of thing happened, who could you complain to?
My grandparents. Who else could you complain to?
I mean, the principals weren't hearing that?
No, and I wasn't used to that because in our schools we had our own Mr. Martin. He was our principal.
Now, what city in Mississippi is this?
This is Rankin County, Mississippi.
And what is that near?
Like Brandon, Deep South, Brandon, Morton, Pelahatchie, Deep South. Where you got a house here, and you got another one in New Haven.
Okay.
That distance, yes.
So it's somewhat rural.
You're right. Dirt roads.
To the extent that you feel comfortable, how much can you share about the accident that you had?
Well, that was June 21st on a Thursday night, 1977. I was in revival in a little small town in Forest, Mississippi, and I didn't know that I was being watched at the time. It didn't faze me, I'm a young man, it didn't faze me. But it was some people who had set up a roadblock. And down south, the road, when it get dark, it get dark. And you keep your high beams on unless it's oncoming traffic. And it was two cars parked on what we call Highway 481. And I was doing about 70. And next thing I knew, I slammed in these two cars and the car caught on fire. My first cousin and I were together. And they pulled him out. And I was compact between the seatbelt had me. The motor came, and I met. And the hood goes up. Now it's kind of like on a hill. Gas is running down. My cousin is saying, he's hollering to the top of his voice, my cousin is in there, my cousin in there. I'm not by myself, my cousin is in there, my cousin in there. So they breaks the window, cut the seatbelt, and pulled me out. And I had a lot of internal injuries. Lost my eyesight, crushed my right leg, several surgeries. I stayed in a coma from June 21st of 77. I came out in October the 3rd of 77.
But what caused this? I mean, what caused the accident? What events transpired?
Well, see, like I say, after we had integrated, it was a couple of white girls who was interested in me at that time. Real friendly, I mean, one of them, her father was cool because he was our baseball coach. And then the other one, her father had a grocery store. So we was, and they one thing about the South, if your Caucasian brother like you, he like you.
That's true.
If he doesn't, he won't have anything to do with you. So this family, and my family, we all kind of grew up together. Matter of fact, she's a school teacher now at our alma mater there in Pittsburgh High School. And when I go down there, sometimes they come here, girl, let me do some things that I couldn't do to you, respectfully, that I couldn't do to you when we were younger. And that's all, just hug, for old time's sake and stuff like that. But yeah, and some of the guys didn't like that. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't know they had been watching me, so they set that roadblock for me and left me for dead. And what the police did was he took them. They were at that time. The paper said that they was drinking alcohol and smoking marijuana at that time outside on the hood. Because you talking about the summertime in Mississippi, you talking about hot. And so, and when the cars met, they ran. Then when the police came, they just ran out of the way. But when the police came, they just kept them in jail overnight till they sobered up and let them go the next morning. And I wouldn't know them now if they walk in this room.
So nothing ever happened to them?
No, just stayed in jail overnight till they sobered up.
Now, throughout the years, have you maintained any animosity towards that and ever want to go back and do harm to the people that did this to you?
I did at first. I really did, because they left me for dead. then but then I grow as I get older. They don't know yet if I'm alive or not unless they're gonna watch your show. But anyway, like I said, I don't know them, and I don't have any remorse now.
Well,
But at that first time, oh yeah. But I was grateful to be alive, and it wore off. It wore off. It took time because I still was a Baptist preacher. It took time, Chief.
now back in '77, if you were a preacher then, you had to be in the teens.
Correct.
So you've been involved with the church that long.
Right. I'll be celebrating 30 years, August the 13th of this year. 30 years of preaching the gospel.
We want to tell Randy to go ahead and get that first clip ready to go. But that's why I wanted to invite both of you on the show here because you still have the Southern experience is still in you, and I guess you still have family. A lot of family is still in the South too.
Yeah.